We're back here at the Greatest Sports Channel, and I have my first guest, Don Brill, baseball enthusiast, and we're really happy to have him here in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. We're down here watching the spring training. Really happy that Bronny's back, and just thought we'd ask Don a few questions about the upcoming season. How do you feel about Ryan Braun coming back, Don?
I think that he really probably doesn't have to say too much. I've watched him a few games down here at spring training. He's hitting it real good. I think that he'll probably hit 300 for sure, give us 30-plus home runs, and 100 RBIs. I really believe that he'll do that again. And we'll get past this. And Brewers need big deals with Chris Davis and Ramirez. If they get a lot of offense out of those two guys and everybody else stays healthy, which isn't easy, the Brewers can contend. Even though they're under the radar, everybody doesn't think they're going to play too good. But I think that that's probably the key, Ramirez and Davis.
Okay, sounds good. Now, Weeks has been somewhat marginal the last few years, ever since he started swinging for the fences. How's he been looking?
Actually, he's been hitting the ball pretty good, but I'm really I'm a Scooter Gennett fan. Even though I have the Earl Weaver disease, I like 3-run home runs, which is good. But
right.
Scooter Gennett had a great second half. I think he hit over 300. I think I like his leadership in the dugout. He's a very positive attitude guy, and I think he's going to start.
Okay, sounds good. How's the pitching looking?
They've got a solid. The pitching staff looks great, but Garza has been getting bumped around pretty bad. All 3 outings, he hasn't done much. But that doesn't mean anything really yet. Loge is a great pitcher. Gallardo is solid. The other 2 guys are suspect, but they're starters. I think they'll be okay. I don't know too much about this Will Smith that we got for Aoki. I would think that he better be pretty good to give up a guy like Aoki. But again, we really didn't have a place for Aoki, so they thought they'd probably try to get somebody for him.
Now, I didn't really like Aoki. Just his singles hitter. He got on base, but in today's game, it just it didn't seem like it produced enough for the Brewers.
Well, I think if you go back to like your book and you look at his stats and his on-base percentage, if you look at that versus the rest of the league,
okay,
you got to play him.
Okay, well, we'll take a look at that maybe tomorrow. I wanted to ask you a couple other questions. Now, who was your favorite player?
Well, you already know that answer, but Ron Santo was my favorite player.
Yeah, and what did you like about Santo?
Santo was a all-heart, good defense, hard-nosed third baseman, and people didn't know that he had diabetes, and neither did I. But he had 5 Gold Gloves, hit 342 home runs. I think he was rock solid. I was wearing number 10 because of it. As a matter of fact, your father pulled me out of first grade. And one day I didn't know what we were doing, but your father and my sister took me to Wrigley Field to watch the Braves and the Cubs back in about 1956. And the Braves were in the street. Maybe it had been 58. They hit like 8 home runs, and they beat the Cubs like 14-3. That's my first time I was ever at Wrigley. It was really a cool deal.
Cool. Sounds good. Now, were you able to see any Milwaukee Braves games?
Oh, my God. I used to take the bus from 87th and Center for 10 cents, transfer on 76, go to 84th and Bluemont, take the bus down to 51st Street and walk into the park. And when I was probably 11 or 12, I used to go to 40 games a year.
Holy cow,
Sit in the bleachers.
That's really amazing. How old were you at that time?
11 or 12.
Wow, that's really an amazing story.
I was at the park in 1961, so that would have made me 12 in left field the day that Willie Mays hit 4 home runs in Milwaukee.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
So who was your favorite Milwaukee Brave? Was it Aaron or Eddie Matthews? Or you just like being out there? It was just so amazing.
They were a great club. I mean, how could you not like Aaron? How could you not like Matthews? I mean, they had a lineup that was as solid as anybody. I mean, I saw Nolan Ryan throw his 300th win there. I saw Warren Spahn throw his 300th win there. Gina Smoley hit the home run to win the game. Of course, the 2 World Series, they were there. My father had tickets in Lower Grands in, I think, like 56,
Holy cow.
57, 58, 59. So I used to go to the ballpark with him once in a while. So it was great. I mean, they were a rock solid team. Warren Spahn, I think Warren Spahn probably was a guy that I really related to and was really a regular guy.
Yeah. Interesting. Sounds good. Now, Euchre was on that team, wasn't he? Or?
Euchre played in 57, I think.
Okay.
And
but
he was out of Boys Tech High School, Milwaukee guy.
Okay.
And just made the club and then got shuffled around to, I think, St. Louis after that. But, yeah, I never really remember Bob playing too much. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird.
I ran into Billy Schroeder last Friday night at my buddy's restaurant, and Billy Schroeder was the only guy ever caught a no-hitter as a Brewer.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
Juan Nuevas was the guy that threw it,
Oh, that's
and he
interesting.
was the guy that caught it. In fact, I didn't even bring it up that night because we were talking about other things. But yeah, that was good. I saw a lot of great games in Milwaukee. I saw one game with the Braves and the Cubs when I was probably a little older, and the Cubs were losing 3-2, and somebody walked, and Sano came up and had a 2-run home run to win the game, and that was pretty exciting for me. But the biggest thing I ever saw at County Stadium in my life was the night it was Sunday afternoon. Gorman Thomas was playing for the Cleveland Indians. It was after we had traded him. I think he was at Seattle, and then he was with the Indians. And the Brewers were winning 4-2 in the 8th. And Gorman came up and had a 3-run ding-dong to take the lead. And the fans loved Gorman so much.
Right.
They asked him for a curtain call.
Holy cow. On the road.
I never saw that in my life. In fact, when I run into Gorman and he doesn't really know me by name, I always bring it up to you.
Yes.
That was really an interesting night.
Yeah, that was very interesting. I was able to take batting practice, my son and I, a couple of years ago, and Gorman was there as one of the coaches at Miller Park, and he told us how he hit 51 homers one year in the minor leagues,
Right.
which was really interesting, and then 48 home runs prior to a lot of dome stadiums, and so Gorman Thomas really was an incredible hitter.
He was a great hitter. In fact, he was even a great fielder.
Yes.
I mean, he really could cover ground, and he'd go through a wall for you to go get that ball. That's just the type of player he was.
Yeah, so that's amazing. Now, back in 1969, 1 week prior to that season, Seattle was sold to Milwaukee, and they came 1 week prior to the season. Do you remember anything about those early years with the Brewers?
I was at opening day.
You were in 1969.
I was there. It was Lou Krause started the game for us, and I forget who started for them, but he had a great game, and I think they beat us like 12-0.
That's amazing. They got the team to move in a week.
Yeah, they did. And Bud Selig did everything to make this happen in Milwaukee, which was a really great thing.
Yeah, Tommy Harper and Marty Patton.
Tommy Harper, Danny Walton.
Yes. Yeah, Danny Walton was on fire for about 20 games.
Yeah. They had a young team that they had some veterans on the team. They had Max Alvis at third base. He had been up with the Cleveland Indians for a while. But it was fun watching them. I'm glad that they were back. And the town really hooked up with them, pretty fast.
Yeah. And then, Yount came around, about 73?
73.
He was 17 years old? Do you remember that at all?
I do remember that.
He came up shortstop.
He was a skinny kid that was great defensively and couldn't hit too much. But that was all a matter of time. And his body developed and worked out and got bigger and stronger and became the player the Hall of Famer that he was, to be able to be a Gold Glove in 2 positions, 2 MVPs in 2 positions. I don't think there's but 2 or 3 guys that did that.
Yeah.
Ever.
Right.
But he was a great player, and he could hit the ball all over, all fields. He didn't pull the ball. He hit the ball right field probably more than he did the left field. And that's why he hit for average, I think.
How about Wrigley Field and the Cubs? Now, you had this Road to Wrigley trip that was really infamous throughout history. How many years was the Road to Wrigley? I want you to tell us a little bit about that.
The Road to Wrigley was a deal that I had for about 24 or 25 years. where we went and we played in a softball tournament, and I sponsored the tournament. And it was a 24-team tournament. We ended up winning the deal, and I had like $400. This is back in like 77 or 78. And the guy said, "What are you going to do with the money?" And I said, "I think I'm going to keep it because it was my entry." And they were all complaining that that's what I wanted to do with it. And then after a couple of pitchers of beer, I said, "All right, here's what we'll do. We'll get a Greyhound bus. We'll leave from Frascona Buick, where I worked, and we'll go to a game." So the first game we went to was a doubleheader, which was a mistake. We didn't need to be there that long. And, of course, I supplied
Doubleheader.
all the refreshments on the bus. And we went down the first year, had a great time. And then we got back, and the guy said, "Well, we're going to do this every year." And then I thought about it, and I said, "I think I'll just turn it into a business deal."
Yeah.
So then they said, "Well, how do we get on the bus?" And I said, "Well, if you buy a vehicle from me or refer me somebody, you're on the bus." So then we had a full bus for many years, as you know, because you made the trip a lot of years. And it was a great deal. You know, we got dropped off at Bernie's on Third Base Corner, and we went to see those people, and they had a drink there, and then the guys could go do what they wanted to do. And then as the game was over, I said, "All right, be back at Bernie's 1 hour after the last out." And believe it or not, 24, 25 years, we never lost anyone. Which is kind
That's
of
impressive.
Which
Yeah.
was kind of amazing.
That's pretty good. Now, I remember one time you picked up myself and my brother Vince, and we went down to a game. By any chance, do you remember that or what happened at that game? Because my favorite player was on the Cubs at that time, and I could just tell you what happened. Dave Kingman hit one out onto Waveland that day.
Well, there's a story behind this, you know.
Oh, okay.
So, Kingman, of course, could hit the ball 500 feet, no question. So, my good friend Bob Armstrong, who I played ball with, his brother is Jim Armstrong. Jim Armstrong writes for the sports for the Denver Post. And he's been on that show on TV with those writers. They do that show. And he actually was walking down the street where the ball was hit.
Off the apartment.
Off the apartment. And picked up the ball and put it in his pocket. So then they drove back to Madison where they lived that night.
Oh my God!
And they were sitting in this local establishment. And the guy next to him said, "My God, did you see the home run that Kingman hit today? It was down the street off the building." And Jimmy Armstrong going, "Yeah, here's the ball." It was the ball in his pocket.
Holy cow! Another great memory I have, Don, is when we went down, and this is when McGuire and Sosa were just hitting the ball. It was unbelievable.
It was around 98.
Yeah, it was the 98 year. That's McGuire hit 70 homers, and Sosa ended up with 64. And we went down to Wrigley Field, and there were so many people on Waveland Avenue. They had to shut down the street.
Right.
There were so many people waiting for home run balls from Sammy Sosa in particular, and he did hit 2 home runs that day. I think it was like the 62nd and 3rd home run.
Right.
And then later, McGuire went on, and I think in Milwaukee might have hit a 70th possibly, and got robbed that day. McGuire might have had another one there was fan interference or something.
Really?
Kathy went the following week and told me about it. So that was just kind of interesting. Good memories to go down and see this.
Wrigley was always fun, regardless who won. The games were fun. Great place to watch a ball game.
How about Bill Madlock? How did you like when he was hitting about 365 or so? Do you remember that
He
at
was
all?
solid. He was very solid.
Yeah, I used to come home after the games and watch when Madlock was hitting for such a high average. So that was really amazing.
You know, I had a chance to go to spring training back in 1990. And Santa was working for WGN already. Ron Santa was such a class act. And I got there early. I was actually did some business in Denver and then drove down to Hoboken and got to the ballpark about 2 hours early, which was fine with me. And he was walking around home plate, and there was a group of senior citizen gals that were sitting there and asked them to come over. And he not only came over and talked to them, I think he talked to them for a good 40 minutes. I mean, he wouldn't shuffle them off. He wouldn't not say I'm too busy. He was just a class guy,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that showed me a lot about what type of man he was.
Yeah. I remember coming home from work many days in the summer, and we would all sit around the pool, Kathy, my wife, and a lot of friends, and I'd always have the Cubs game on, and we would listen to see if Sammy would hit homers, and he was hitting about 20 a month
Yeah.
in that one year in particular, and it was really amazing with Santo as the announcer. And was it Harry Carey still then? I think it
Could have been
must
Harry
been.
Carey, and Santa would really, if they would make an error or they'd lose the game, he'd cry. He'd cry on the air. He was, diehard Cubby.
Yeah, he liked Budweiser, I think. Harry Carey. He used to talk about,
Yeah, Harry did.
maybe if you'd be on the roof across.
That's why I think that Harry went from the Cardinals to the White Sox to the Cubs. I think he had some entertainment issues.
Okay, so that was good. Well, I wanted to thank you, Don. This is the first time that we've had you on the Greatest Sports Channel here. You are our first guest, but we plan on having a lot more videos in the future. And thanks for coming, Don.
It was great. Thank you, Mark.
Okay.